we'll see what that is going to give us.
And we thought that blue side was going to be an advantage for T1, as we saw in the previous series, but it was back-to-back-to-back red side victories for Hanwha Life. So not out of the woods just yet, although they are out of the Maokai woods, as he is going to be banned away. The Zeri taken away as well, as Guma's like, nah, I'm done with this champion. Yeah, can't carry hard enough late game, I guess.
You saw a lot of 80 carry bans, but you still have Kalista open, you still have Senna open, you still have Lucian open. There's a lot of things still available, and the bans are thinning out, so with Nautilus banned away, at this point, what are Hanwha Life Esports going to remove? Like, there's going to be countless things up and available. Rek'Sai is still
Kalista.
on the cards.
Oh, Senna
or Kalista.
Oh,
now,
God.
Senna, Kalista, Rek'Sai?
If you ban Senna here, they can pick Kalista, but the Viper has been okay with playing the Varus into the Kalista. Going to be the Senna again, but remember, T1 have first picked this Senna when available many times, even against Hanwha Life, and failed when Carry has been pushed off of these top-tier picks. So Nautilus is banned. That's fine, but that means he doesn't get to play it. Now the Tahm Kench removed here. We have not seen Keria find the same level of success when he doesn't have either of these picks with Guma's Senna. Senna, for Guma, by the way, 10-1 this season. An incredible pick for him. It's his most played, in fact, leading into this series.
What was the last time he lost on this Senna, though? That was in the last series against Hanwha Life Esports in exactly this situation, where Keria was forced to pick something else. In that case, it was the Scion. We'll see what he has this time around as Azir is locked in. I was really expecting just Sejuani Rek'Sai straight out of the gate here for Hanwha Life.
I think definitely the Rek'Sai. I feel like the Sejuani, I think maybe you can leave, but they're going for what looks to be Azir Vi in this situation. Now, interesting one. Maybe they're hoping to take the Rek'Sai on 3, but then your 80 carries going to get banned away. You assume they're going to want to lock in Viper's pick on that 3rd point. So maybe T1 just end up going the Sejuani Rek'Sai themselves. And then the thing is, with Tom and Nord already gone, I feel like there's less of a pressure to pick your pairing with the Senna this early.
No, I think if you leave the Vi up here as Hanwha, they can go Vi Ahri, they can go Vi Talia. And that has been so common for T1. We know that Keria's pick isn't coming necessarily in this part of the draft just simply because he can play so many things, and Senna is such a flexible champion. Yeah, he may have it in the Sejuani, in fact. Now, I kind of expected, rather than this quirky pick, that Faker is on a 2-game loss streak right now, namely against Hanwha Life. Rather than that, I thought we were going to see a strong, pick that works well with the Sejuani, or something like the Rek'Sai, as you mentioned, for top blind for Zeus. That's kind of been the MO. It's taken away now here, so you have a pretty flexible and strong early game here as Hanwha Life now.
It's looking a little bit worrying for T1, I have to say. Even though, this is crazy, right? Because we're talking about a Senna Corki composition that, this kind of draft, especially in the hands of T1, has looked very successful. But against Hanwha Life Esports, in the microcosm of this matchup, it's looking worrying for T1.
We've seen the Senna Sejuani before. They're banning away the Xin Zhao, which makes me think that, Xin Zhao Sejuani is a really strong pairing.
Yeah.
I haven't really been sold, especially you have a Corki and a Senna. You don't really have anyone fantastic to stack it up, I mean, maybe you'll get some things on the top side, but that's the... obviously, having a top lane that can stack it up well isn't that useful for Keria.
I would love to see a Caitlyn ban here, too, from T1. I think that's one of the picks that's left here that Viper could play that could really give you a nice edge in this lane, pairs with a lot of other supports, and can just control that when you already have the pretty safe blind top Rek'Sai here. Again, it's not necessarily going to be that Sejuani here, but there's a pretty high chance that Keria does, in fact, play that. You just want to shut down what Viper and Delight can run into this. So it'll be the Jinx, actually, instead, another long-range champion. The Varus is still available as well.
I feel like they might just go Varus Rel again in this situation. I was kind of thinking, okay, you've seen these Eddie carries banned away, Senna's been picked up, maybe we'll get targeted more in the second rotation, but to only ban Jinx, I think, honestly, Hanwha Life can be pretty happy. They're just going to be able to secure that once again. I'm kind of surprised they didn't end up targeting that. Clearly T1 fearing other things, and now, we'll see whether the Sejuani does get locked into that support role. I don't rate it very highly, but again, it really depends what you're going to pick for Zeus. If you want to pair that Sejuani with someone in the top lane, fine, but you're into the Rek'Sai, is it just going to be a TF angle again? But we've seen that lane be a bit rough.
Could be Aatrox here. Yeah. Lock that in with the Sejuani and play Ornn bottom, play Sion bottom. Viego. Definitely not what I saw coming in this one. And that is a tough pick to play out.
How many junglers do we need?
Okay, all right. Well, that Zac is going into the top lane. You have to imagine the Viego will be the jungle with the Sejuani support here. But this composition feels so fragile. It feels so brittle in how its win cons have to be played out. Scales incredibly well, and it does fight decently early around package fights and Senna's roaming. But if it falls behind a little bit, if it loses a team fight or two in those early skirmishes, it's just done. You know, it doesn't really have legs to stand on, especially the Viego aspect of this composition.
This makes me think, because one of the picks we've seen, obviously everyone thinks Sion when they think lane swaps, but Zac has also been a really powerful one. The dive potential with the passive early, very potent, and he is a very low econ top laner. So perhaps T1 looking to sort of mirror the shenanigans we saw in game 1. I feel like playing in a Rek'Sai is just very unfun situation, and I feel like Varus is going to have the edge over Senna, so maybe they look for an angle where they can navigate those lanes using this Zac. We'll have to see, but T1
Palm will run away with it.
Just have to see how it goes as we jump onto the Rift for game number 2.
하나생명 하나 둘 셋.
And the KSPO Dome erupts once again as T1 and Homolife Esports make their way out onto the Rift. I do feel like we had about 4 games worth of game in game number 1. And we'll see who has the longevity to survive here as Venom Zac to come on through. I'm more of a Majin Buu fan myself when it comes to the Zac skins, but this one is also pretty cool. And Zeus, he's no stranger to the Zac top. Of course, it is something that has been started to be played elsewhere more often, but Zeus was playing it before it was cool. He's now going to get knocked up before it was cool.
They both heal a lot.
Yeah,
They do.
Healing for healing. I think that's the takeaway.
One goes underground, the other one eats bits that fall off.
Interesting, we aren't seeing any attempts at a lane swap, any shenanigans coming out early. Especially, I always feel like something that's been talked about heavily is the fact that like there are players who have played a lot in the lane swap era, and there's also players who really haven't. But both these teams, I mean, I feel like Faker's doing the lion's share of the experience there, but definitely will have that in the wheelhouse. But yeah, it's going to be standard heads-up lanes coming out level 1.
Yep. Carrier, of course, has played this Sejuani alongside the Senna once so far in the playoffs. He's been the only one to do so, but of course we know that he has an eclectic champion pool and one that kind of spans all of the champions in the game. And some biffo here towards the top side. Ignore the fact that they're taking damage, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to go away.
As, yes, it is something that they're just happy to do for the entirety of the game. Doran, you can see, eating up that Fury. We'll get another knock-up here.
I'm not going to lie.
Standing on the blobs.
It's going to feel nearly impossible to judge who's like winning the trades. No one.
I think it's very clearly one where you just keep an eye on what's on the ground for the Zac and what is the yellow bar for Doran. As I think Zeus is winning out on these slightly right now, but is of course just the first 2 levels here. And look at the win rate here for Zeka on Azir. It has been a pick that he's found great success with in best of 5s, namely Worlds, where he did level up on it massively in 2022. A pick we've criticized him for quite heavily in the past, but I think is no longer really a weak point for this incredible mid player. Guma Senna, mentioned it earlier, it's 15-1 on it now and 5-1 versus the Varus. Doran?
Yeah, another knockup does come on through here as, okay, elastic slingshot, the flash out from Doran. And underground once again, Zeus electing not to flash after him for first blood, and instead will just keep up that pressure.
You have to be careful. You flash after he gets the burrow, maybe heals out of the auto range. It would be a waste for Zeus. Finding pressure in this top lane matchup, you know, the healing from Rek'Sai really starts to take off later in the levels. At this point, some bad trades can really push things out of your favor. Doran will use the TP already to get back into lane.
Yeah, gonna grab a refillable, so more healing in the conversation now, as there's not really anything else he can afford here as he's trading with this Zac. And I love the Zac here for T1 for 2 reasons. One being, of course, the long engage range for those skirmishes we talked about with Viego. With the early team fights is area.
Yeah, a bit of a crash down does come on through there. The chains do lock down Delight. We know that Peanut's in the area, the Ignite ticking down. Now making their way out. Peanut actually deciding to get out of here, and Ona knows exactly what's going on. Ward goes down. Peanut, I believe, is going to spot that, as we can see right there. Another snare going to come on through as Gumayushi down pretty low on the mana, as Viper does find a piercing arrow on top of the Senna. And the backs are going to come through, or at least one of them for Peanut here. Teleport back from Carrier, and now Ona might have an opportunity.
They don't know.
No vision.
Yeah, there's the flash forward from Carrier. Viper able to try and get off to the side. Good crash down to try and get him out of there, but there's the permafrost, and Viper will be taken down. Gumayushi gets the first blood.
Such a good read from Ona, had complete information advantage over Peanut. Waited it out, and you know, Peter obviously went away from the situation, but like, yeah, you guys have got the wave crash, you're fine here. And Owner manages to get in. There's a lot expended to make that gank worth, but they'll definitely appreciate the payoff, especially as it's Guma who ends up getting a kill. Kills on a Senna when she ends up needing the extra gold, really valuable.
Oh, absolutely. This is exactly what T1 want out of a fight like this, and Peanut isn't able to get anything crosswise here. Now, Doran, with the push that he has, is going to come over here and see Owner her path bottom side, whether he could affect him here. Peanut's coming over as well. Huge opportunity.
Yeah, Peanut charging up that Vault Breaker as Owner gets into the miss. Doran going to come on over as well. Looks to tunnel in on top of the Viego. That's a lot invested for a Gromp, but they will be able to at least get the Gromp. As Gumyushi now comes on over, Carrier just 1v1ing Viper here towards the bottom side. A little bit dangerous with the amount of minions that are stacked up on the Humble Life esports side of the map. Carrier, he understands that.
Yeah, so interestingly, we actually got Viper going lethal tempo here, but he's got a tier and is presumably going the lethality route, so maybe just wants the extra sort of sustained damage when it comes to those team fights, or even in lane. You know, if Carrier does go all in there and Viper stacks up the lethal tempo, is an easy way to end up losing that 1v1.
Yeah.
An interesting adaptation.
I think it's absolutely an adaptation for laning into the Sejuani here, because as you mentioned, the CC, it's CC versus extended damage once he gets out of that combo.
Delay.
Careful.
Yeah, does manage to get the shield as Crashdown does come on in. As Zeus, he's getting very, very small. Still able to get a decent knock-up, but he's going to explode him. And now the Bloblet's coming on forward. Doran, can you take them down in time is the question. Only gets a couple, and now Zeus makes his way back in, but will not have that passive available for the next time.
That was the second thing I was going to mention before we had that skirmish bottom. The two great things about this Zac, great skirmish power, and also the passive allows T1 to make a lot of extended plays. They're so famous for looking like they've overextended on the map and then wrapping around so quickly. Zeus being able to have that passive allows you to make some plays like that, but if you lose it early like this, there's going to be a huge period of time in which that's not a tool that you're going to have, and Doran going to feel so much more confident in this lane. Would have loved to get the kill as well, but the passive also feels like a massive win. This is Carrier coming in here. The key part of this, which isn't really shown in this replay, is the fact that Owner stays and they don't have vision. He's aware of it, and they're able to punish.
Yeah, and I mean, managing to just get the kill at the very end. The cleanse is good, the peel from Delight is solid. But when you're that overextended on a mobile carry, there's only so much you can do in that situation to try and get out. Does end up paying back in return. We do see the Bramble Vest come out from Zeus, and obviously really strong item for the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is kind of forced to auto you in trades and kind of guarantee the sort of healing reduction. But the thing with it is you kind of just wait out the healing reduction before you burrow underground.
Oh, this is a little bit dangerous as Faker is going to get engaged on. Immediately flashes away the Glacial Prison, going to go wide. There is the lockdown on the Dragon for T1, but Delight gets them on in there. They take down Faker. Empress Divide is massive, and it's 2 kills to start off the fight. Carrier is not long for the world either. And Humble Life Esports, they lose a Drake, but they'll take 3.
This is the main criticism I had with T1 in their previous series against Hanwha. They show up on these objectives before their comp is online, before they really have any semblance of control. And yeah, Hanwha Life, it looks like potentially initially they're just going to look for a little bit of a rel steal because it's still, you know, 14.6, so that's not removed from the game just yet. And you end up fighting into this Azir composition here. It's got such a tanky front line. You stay too long. Corki doesn't have package, doesn't have any agency in this fight, and you end up giving over a massive amount of gold.
It's just, it's so greedy, because clearly they're like, okay, we can try to sneak a dragon in the situation, but Faker has no rockets, half HP. They get caught in this combo, and the arrow to follow does so much damage. And then as soon as like Zeka slides in, the ult comes out, you know it's just in a really bad spot. Especially as this is a composition with a Viego, you want to be the ones having the momentum in the fight. And I think for me, this is just greedy from T1.
It's greedy, absolutely.
Like, you'd love...
이제 가보자. 안주가 너무 잘했다 우리들을.
That was awesome, Delight, is what Peanut said.
You'd love to get an early dragon on a Corki comp, but you're not forced into it. You can just wait for the package and have that big edge in the dragon fights. Instead, they opt to go for an early one, and they pay so dearly for it.
And it's really reminiscent of a lot of the fights they lost against Hanwha in their matchup earlier on in the playoffs, where they opted into fights, got Viper extended, or rather gave him a huge lead, accelerated him, and this moment here, Zeka comes up big with Delight, and the gold lead goes to Hanwha here. It's a small one, but these items, you know, breaking points when we reach the mid game are going to be so critical. I don't think we're going to get a Chemtech Soul twice, but I mean, Ox is sitting up here with us, so.
Yeah, we need you to focus.
I'll do my
best. As Ocean ticking down 3 minutes until that one is going to be on the Rift. Quite a few decent souls up and available, is Gumushi going to walk back towards this bottom side. Information does go over to Humble Life as they do have that ward towards Tribrush. So just some 2v2 laning down here. In the mid lane, we have seen that Zeka has retained a fair bit of control in that lane for the majority of the game, but has since just equalized with Faker. Faker actually making his way back as far as the CS is concerned, especially now as he tidies up this wave. Might be face checking though, as there's a Vault Breaker in. The ulti comes down. Emperor's Divide is avoided though, as Faker able to get that Valkyrie off before the Azir swoops in.
Close call there. A very close call.
Yeah, it felt like a little bit rough. Zeka could have committed the flash, but
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
think he needed it, and I think they were just kind of... I think they wanted a bit more time for Zeka to get a bit closer, but then Peanut, obviously, if Faker comes up and wards the brush, you just have to go then. Unfortunately, unable to get it off. A couple of Void Grubs picked up. Once again, similar to game one, just 3 for 3 traded on those, so no real advantage gained for either side.
Faker, he's calculated, man. He knows the exact range. Look at that. We put the stats up as well.
Yeah, there we go. That's the timing for the Corky.
Yeah. And look, that's 2 ults down. On a life without that pick can't contest top side.
Oh, yeah, Doran in possibly a bit of trouble here as there's the Void Rush to come out. Dawning Shadow to keep them alive, but he tunnels his way and he survives. And Doran able to lap up these minions as well.
It's just crazy how hard it is to punish this champion. You know, Doran actually was he wanted to stack up his rage, so he went to Q the wave and he hit Zeus, getting the grievous wounds. It looked like he wasn't going to be able to survive as a result, and then he just flash tunnels and he's suddenly, you know, on the other side of your screen and you're not going to be able to follow him up. So a nice attempt for T1, but this champion is just immovable.
I feel like such a Doran champion as well.
Really
because
is.
He soaks so much pressure.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Doran's mastery of it, he's already shown in this playoff so incredibly well, whether it's setting up for team fights, objective control, you know, and surviving here when playing it weak side has been very effective. As Faker survives, Doran survives. We go back to neutral here. 45 seconds before this dragon. See, Doran does have his teleport online. Ults for Zeka and Peanut coming back. Peanut nearly there. And T1 need to be a little bit more careful about how they want to approach this dragon fight, because 2 team fight losses in a row makes this game snowball away from you so quickly. Right now, they're in a pretty good spot with Ascena, getting that early kill, scaling up nicely. Corky obviously going to be incredibly strong in the late game. Do not want to mess this one up, though.
Yep. T1 with their first dragon of the series as well, in fact, didn't take any of the objectives on the bottom side of the map in game number 1, and now have turned that one around 100%. So being able to pick up that first drake, definitely good news. And they still have a slight advantage. Well, actually, no, it's just completely neutral as far as gold is concerned.
The thing here is that they will have the package, but the strength of the composition doesn't really come online. They don't really have the poke because Senna's not got that much range, and Faker's items are looking like a mix of nothing, if I'm going to be honest at the moment. Nothing really completed, so don't feel like they have too much power right now, but they have picked up the package. They all look to set up. We saw how Life Esports start the dragon, then back away. Maybe hearing the package sirens and being a bit concerned.
I mean, there's no vision here whatsoever for T1 in this brush. Faker can't approach this angle.
Oh, there is the soldier over the wall. Faker taking a little bit of damage there as T1 they'll get their turn on this Drake.
Anwar should just slow play this. They have a Varus who's rotating over. They don't have to hard engage unless it's onto the package-less Faker. He's got it on this angle now.
Yeah, this is so dangerous. They do manage to take down the second dragon, but they look for the engage. There's the package to live it over the top, and it's Ona that goes down first. Zeka will find Faker's special delivery, and it's Onwa that managed to get it on over, and it's a Hextech Drake on top of everything. T1 pretty happy that they're at least able to get the Drake.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you saw Peter trying to set up for the steal, but that wasn't really the focus. The engage comes in, and even with the package as a peel attempt, it only hits the front line as a Honor Life Esports. They just kind of shake it up, and the follow-up is so good. Zeka taking out Faker now. Yes, the fight goes in favor of Honor Life Esports, but Zeus gets a lot of gold, and they also, as you said, secured that second dragon into a Hextech Soul, so it's not all doom and gloom, but these fights setup coming out from Honor Life Esports definitely feels like it's in their favor.
It does feel like at least the gambit of committing to the dragons will pay off, as Atlas mentioned, because it is a Hextech Soul, and if this had been Chemtech, you would feel horrible about this as a T1 fan, but you're still scaling, and you still have the opportunity to give some of these up and allow this Corky incentive to come online later. So in the short term, yes, gold deficit here, teamfight wins for Hanwha. In the long term, T1 feeling, I think, overall pretty happy with this one. It's going to, of course, come down to how these next few teamfights go as to whether we're going to feel like this is okay or not. But you watch this breakout again, it's similar to the last one. Set up here, very rickety here for T1. They secure the Dragon, but the engage comes through from Delight. Package alone isn't going to be enough, because guess what? Zeka's unaffected, and he's got so much follow-up, and the engage from Delight, once again, just perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's Rel and it's Vi who are the ones tanking the package, not too big of a deal. T1 are going to pick up this Herald, but the mid-tier 1 for Hanwha looks pretty healthy, so, you know, obviously the main goal getting the Herald is breaking that T1 tower down, but I don't think they're really going to get an opportunity to do so, especially as anytime you set up to look for a siege on a tower, there's so much easy engage threat from Hanwha Life Esports that just has to make you second guess whether it's worth it. And oftentimes that's going to be no.
Yeah, Peanut able to steal away this red buff as well, take the Hex Gate, get himself out of here, and the Hextech Rift is also going to, I think, move us towards a few more skirmishes as this mid-game progresses. Late game, another thing that we do have to talk about, T1 still with a lot of power there, but I think with the amount of lockdown that Hanwha Life Esports has, like you guys were mentioning earlier on, the Viego wanting to snowball these fights forward, Hanwha do have answers to that. So I think as this game goes on, there is still hope here for Hanwha Life Esports, even if they are going to head towards a late game against this Senecorp.
And it's the Azir that's 100% KP that I really focus on here, that's been the most pivotal pick in playoffs since being re-enabled. It's just been so impactful for all three of our remaining mid laners here in the LCK. Zeka did not go for Grasp. He wants the damage. He's got Halo Blades here, and with the Nashor's Tooth, this turret's not long for this world. Neither is Zeus necessarily.
Ooh, doesn't quite find the stretch Armstrong. And they are going to play it safe. As now Faker dove on here by Doran just a little bit.
And he just already looks so tanky at this point.
Yeah, no, this is kind of ridiculous. Is Gumayushi going to come on over? Piercing Darkness not going to work out. As now, let's see whether Zeus is going to survive. He flashes forward, gets the head bomb. The Emperor's Divide is going to throw him against the wall as they focus the turret. The Bolt Breaker is going to get the shield for Peanut. And Zeka, he survives with his shifting sands. Sets up his own turret as well as they take down the Zac. Doran, he survived. His turret had already basically fallen down earlier, and the Rift Herald is going to charge into that inner turret as well. Doran actually having the gusto to take down HLE himself.
It's so rare that a champion can just walk up in front of 3 people, walk behind the Herald, and just auto the eye, but Rek'Sai is just that champ. And, you know, T1, they managed to get an okay use of the Herald, but realistically, half HP in that top tier 2. A lot lower value than lowering the health of the mid-tier 1, so I don't feel like the payoff is really there. It's a minute till that Dragon, though, and that's going to be a... Oh, TP coming in.
Yeah, TP from Zeka here moves towards his top side. Is now Faker having to deal with it. Conquering Sand's going to come through, and of course there's Peanut. Turns up, and that is going to be just the last Sand Soldier auto, and Zeka just collects it.
I mean, with Halo Blades here, the early Nashers, 3 kills to his name now. I mean, he's pushing towards the Leandres here. He already has his Haunting guys online. Blasting Wand's picked up. He's just so accelerated in this game, and yeah, sure, you win one fight, you lose the Dragon, not feeling too terrible about that, you lose the second one, but Hanwha Life just keep feeding this Azir kills, and this is, by the way, played so incredibly well by Zeus, all things considered. The ultimate is timed really well here, but they focus down the turret, so his passive isn't going to save the day. They don't get that counter kill onto Zeka, could just put up this Azir turret, guarantees the kill here, and then coming onto Faker without ultimate here, he's just so ahead, and Peanut's able to wrap around. Doran's up here as well. It's just a mistake by Faker, not respecting how quickly you can rotate on this map with the Hextech Rift. He's shut down, and I mean, we're moving into this next Dragon. It's going to be Hanwha's first Hextech of the game. If they can secure it, it looks very likely right now. Package spawn timer here, great for Faker. Well, they're very late to show up for the fight.
Yeah, very late, and also, you know, Faker doesn't have that many quite stacked up yet. Again,
this flank angle pretty big from Zeus, like you were talking about. Carrier making his way in. The Drake already secured Hanwha's first of the game, but there is the elastic slingshot. They dive on in, the package down as well, and they take down Zeka, the priority target. Doran looks for the backline and will be able to trade the mid laners, and there is a great Magnus Storm as well. Viper, the next one that can try and carry this fight as owner, is starting to pop off, but the piercing arrow going to take him down. Zeus now just trying to peel as best he can. Peanut, how are you still alive? Almost managing to escape as Viper has to flash away. Doran, of course, can just survive for basically forever. He'll make his way out as Viper was kind of baited into this one and will be falling down. Dodges a few abilities, and T1 win a team fight.
It's just tank diff. It's just tank diff. Both of these tanks, all 3 of these tanks rather, running rampant in these fights. The initial kill onto Zeka is so huge. You know, with that Leandries, with that Nashers would be someone who could cut through all these bulky members.
I'm pretty sure actually built the Leandries after he died as well, so I don't think he had it
Didn't have it there, yeah.
fight.
They managed to get on top of him. The lockdown follow-up is so good, the package as well. And then immediately the difference is Ona is now starting to get resets in this fight, getting value out of the Viego, and Viper is trying to do so much, but realistically, even with the lethal tempo, you're just not cutting through Zeus. It takes so long.
And also with Guma's additional heals coming through in the fight, the Dawning Shadow coming through as well, he's not caught by Delight's ultimate. He actually ends up doing so much in this fight, not only in terms of damage, as the Senna is really starting to be a strong threat here, but heals his teammates up as well, and that sustain is just something that Viper unfortunately cannot break through. He's gone for lethality, he wants to hit those squishy targets, but as you mentioned, without the sustained damage from that Azir, they just cannot get it done. Good plays there from Guma. Senna 3-0-2 now, kind of matching in terms of the impact that Zeka has had in these team fights now in that last one. And T1 back on the board here. They failed to secure the Drake though, which is huge for Hanwha Life. Having that Hextech Soul Point above your head would feel terrible in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse if they weren't able to secure that one, but I think the takeaway is, if you go on lethality virus, even if you take lethal tempo, it's not going to suddenly turn you into the on-hit build.
No.
And you can see Zeus just really surviving such an insane amount of time during that fight. And the key thing is Zeka. Zeka needs to survive, needs to be that DPS threat, needs to be that sustained damage for the team. As you said, Leandri is now finished, so we'll have that cut-through ability, but Faker's now got that Manamune stacked up and is going to start building the items where Corki really starts to take off. I feel like T1 have been managing so far, but once Corki gets that power, once Guma starts getting that range, that's when they become real threats in these fights, because as much as the tanks were kind of just running rampant, when Corki and Senna are able to lay down huge damage on the back of that, it's going to be very problematic for Hanwha Life Esports.
You have to say as well that it was Gumayushi in the last game that I think was playing the most consistently here for T1. Once again, 3-0-2 on this Senna. And we know the carry potential of this champion, especially if she gets accelerated. Definitely a big lease on life here for T1. But like you mentioned, Hanwha managed to get themselves their first dragon of the game. And there's a Glacial Prison. That's going to connect onto Viper, who does cleanse it. Gets rid of it. And Carrier taking a lot of damage here from these Leandries up auto attacks from Zeka.
Yeah, Zeka also flashing there, so that's another tool gone here for Hanwha. But Faker, he's just so behind in terms of his itemization. He does not match the poke of Zeka, ironically enough.
No! Crash down, Carrier gonna get knocked up and destroyed. Zeus diving on in there, doesn't find the Stretch Armstrong. The kill back does come on in though. And now Oda, he knows how to play the Rel. Empress Divine does nothing. The Heartbreaker dives over it. And Faker will now get into that backline. And Oda pretty good at the Azir as well. Very nicely done. He'll now just transform into everyone. And the snowball of the team fight is beautiful. T1, they love going to Baron. They're going to do so now.
As soon as the momentum starts to go in favor of T1, the Viego resets come through. Guma and Faker unchallenged. And I feel like making a play onto Carrier, onto this super tanky farm Sejuani ends up being a mistake, especially as you were already down tools in the fight. Zeka without flash, Viper without cleanse, and they just really weren't able to do anything on the back of that.
Yeah, and it's not really a poke war that T1 is winning this with Faker's Corki. Just follow-up damage from this guy, and obviously the package on the last fight where they were able to take Zeka out his door, just has to sit back and watch. You watch moments like this, and you have to remember that, yes, it is lethal tempo on the bars, but this is a poke composition here that Hanwha Life are trying to play with this front line. They have great re-engage, but when they're the ones who start the engage, the attempted blow-up here of Sejuani is successful, but everything else is just super disjointed. The very split, as you mentioned, some of those summoners down. It's really easy for this Viego comp to say thank you very much for the free engage as you guys overextend on one of our tankiest members.
And beautifully played here by Onerous. Okay, Hanwha, if at first you don't succeed, they're going to try again. This time, Viper not in range of the Zakas. Faker once again looking for a package angle. And this dragon is up and available. Hanwha still trying to fight tooth and nail for this.
Yeah,
he teleports for this.
They're actually, look, they have the package available. You see Doran looking for a flank angle. Faker's just taking mid-tier 1. They're pressured on both angles here. Hanwha Life Esports going to try and take the dragon and do what they can.
Well, let's see whether they can actually get some sort of steal, as Faker still in that mid lane. Doran has moved back to try and contest. The dragon is going to equalize. T1 will start it off once again. And Zeus does take a Hex Gate over. That's a teleport in from Doran. Just gets into the pit. Of course, he can do this because the Rek'Sai, she is so incredibly tanky. And just now, going to be burrowed around, moving in. Let's see who manages to take it. It's Peanut, the lockdown, the Dragon, but can they win a fight is the question. Doran unable to tunnel his way out. And that is going to be a kill going over to Zaya. So T1, they'll take the fight, but they won't be able to pick up the Drake.
The Light's hovering around the edge of the Drake, and Hanwha Life, it looked like it was very clear they did not want to take that fight into Faker's package. They were just looking for secure the Drake and evacuate, and the second the smite goes Peanut's way, they bail out. Doran is a casualty of this call from Hanwha Life, but at least they're able to stack 2 dragons here. Problem is that Baron is still up, and T1 are going to get more than just that pick on the Doran. Hanwha Life losing a lot of control over this game very quickly as Corki is starting to come online, and if Faker starts actually being a poke threat in these fights with how Hanwha is actually looking to just all-in engage every single skirmish we see, this game can change. The game state already very heavily favoring T1 can change faster.
Oh, wow. Peanut? Oh, he actually gets out of there. My goodness, that was almost the most ridiculous read. Instead, ships in the night.
No, I thought Peanut was going to go for it because I feel like all these pick attempts, the first one was on the Sejuani, not a good target. Then the Zac, even worse. I thought you finally found someone you can kill, but not confident the damage was there with Peanut by himself, so ends up backing away. And T1, the Baron is close to fading out, but still just have the pressure on the map here, and it's going to be hard to set up against this team. They might be able to look for this tier 2 in the bot lane with the last of the Baron. Oh, that poke.
Man, that's a lot of damage. Faker throwing out that fast bomb and some rockets. Really going to do a lot of work. 3 items now done for this Corki. And every one of these rockets that Hanwha avoids, they're going to feel very good about it. There's an ulti. It is going to connect somehow onto Delight, but he's not exactly the primary target. T1 not going to follow up on that one. 50% of the health bar here on Faker as well. Just going to play it safe. And I think game 1 is really on the minds of both of these teams right now.
Yeah, you could really feel the pressure that Hanwha are under here as the Baron gives so much additional gold over to T1. It's a 6,000 gold lead now. Obviously, they can't see those numbers, but they know they've lost control of the map. They know they're behind in terms of the advantage they had early. Zeka was so huge, now is getting outplayed by the Corki in these team fights and the poke. But when it lands, you could feel the damage that Faker is starting to come with. And as you mentioned, Oxen, as we've been talking about, the engages from Hanwha have been very lackluster onto the wrong targets. They're forgetting the Sejuani is incredibly tanky. And also the engages onto the Zac, who has an ultimate, has a passive, it makes it very difficult to blow him up, just doesn't feel ideal here. And Hanwha not playing the slow poke game with Viper either. And I think that T1 have just had so many great opportunities to re-engage and win those fights. And when they have Baron, they're just like, yeah, come at me, bro. And as a result, we're looking at 2.5 minutes until this next dragon spawns. But T1, they have complete map control. They get to dictate the pace of this game.
Yeah, and I feel like the 2 dragons for Hanwha really just aren't doing much. It's just the fact they've denied T1 is obviously very important to keep their hopes alive in the game. If you give Hextech Soul over to Corki center, the game is just over. But T1 are fine with this game going later. Faker's approaching level 16 where you get a massive spike on the Corki rockets. Guma is stacking up those souls, has the rapid fire cannon as well. So it's not getting easier for Hanwha Life Esports. Yes, they bought time by getting those 2 dragons, but time isn't necessarily going to help them.
I'll just have to see how Hanwha's going to be able to mitigate this one. 1.5 minutes, so not exactly coming up anytime soon on this dragon. In fact, first on the chopping block will be the Baron. We'll see who's going to be able to retain control. Looks like T1 for now, and Hanwha Life Esports just trying to get as much money as they can to be able to stand toe-to-toe. I think their composition can still teamfight at this stage, but their use-by date is swiftly approaching, and with the fact that they are still already down in gold against this center Corki, it is so dangerous.
If we turn back the clock, if we turn back time and think about game 1, there were 2 miracles given, right? Owner's first death, the attempted kill onto Viper that was shut down by Zeka's re-engage there. Owner was picked twice. T1 made some big mistakes for the lead they had. I think if they do not make said mistakes in this game, they're on a great pace to finish this one out. Obviously, Owner is going to be not the same type of engaged champ this game around as he was in the last one. Is going to be more of a facilitator follow-up, and then, of course, it's going to get those resets and kind of carry the team fight. T1, I really think it's going to take a big mistake or a miracle play from Peanut, Zeka, or maybe a Doran flank to win this one, as Guma still has Flash and Cleanse. Faker's got Flash and Valkyrie.
Well, there's the engage attempt onto Gumushi, but he just flashes away. Slinks into the mist as well. And Guma is not going to be killed that easily. They do manage to get the Flash. That is definitely important, but now the re-engage comes through Doran. He manages to grab it out of thin air. That was amazing.
Even Viper didn't trust that was going to block.
And that's the rough thing, is it was such a good play from Doran, but the cleanse still goes down.
Yeah.
Flash for Guma, obviously more impactful, but Hanwha Life Esports trying to bring some sums. Don't think they got enough that I really favor them in this next fight.
Dragon's up, but they can just try to burn Baron here. I mean, they have this Zeka damage that's pretty insane on this Azir.
It is very true. If Viper and Zeka can get on top of this Baron, it is going to be a lot of work. But Faker goes back, collects himself the package. And look at this, immediately, HLE Esports scatter.
Yeah, it's just too dangerous. If you end up in the Baron pit against the package, it's just game over. And T1 actually potentially looking towards it themselves. The expectation was they would go for the Dragon on this package, but they're starting the Purple Worm. HLE Esports all kind of retreated. Now they have to move in and respond.
All right, teleport in. Yeah, Peanut has Flash. Looks like they want to just group
over the wall as Delight. He has an opportunity as well. Peanut gets into the back of the pit. This is dangerous. Has to flash away immediately. Now Doran, he's able to take the front door, and T1 are going to peel away. Faker still with that package up. They want to get that turn, and they're going to need to do it sometime soon. Now the package is going to be used just to try and rout Doran here, but it isn't exactly the most. He actually just decides to go back on top of the package. I don't know about that one. That is going to be Ona getting his first kill of the fight. Takes down the big tank of this one, and both flashes from the carries are now on cooldown for HLE.
And this may just be both objectives to T1 here. They could rush down this Baron now, and with Doran down, it's hard for HLE to stop. I mean, Peanut doesn't have Flash. They don't have Vision.
All right, Peanut and Delight still here. There's the CC onto the buy. He is very tanky, but the Rel is going to go down. Faker's just executed, but I just don't think it's enough to win them this fight. Viper cannot turn up in time. Another teleport going to come on in as Zeka. He could be the hero, but full information is there for T1. And they will be able to take down this Baron. Zeka unable to get in there, and he may not be able to keep himself alive. He is. Not enough cooldowns here for T1.
What a scrappy series of events. I feel like Doran really let HLE Esports down there, getting caught out, trying to find an engage angle when no one was in position to follow up, overestimating the tankiness, and Baron now goes over to T1. Looking to get set up on the Dragon. It will just be Ona taking the scuttle, securing that. We see HLE Esports flying out to contest. It's just going to get back-to-back fights, I feel like, here.
Yeah, it does look like that. Zeka down Flash, but will have his ultimate available for this one. Yep. And, you know, Faker is respawning here. He does have teleport. He should be able to rejoin, but what impact will he have is the question, as if a lot of Baron time is also being wasted here. I love that we see Keria with TP, since he is playing TP with the Sejuani lane, or with the Senna lane. He actually is going to be able to push this top lane out and be a bit of a side lane threat here, put a clock on HLE, and that Baron buff will slowly but surely push HLE away. Faker gets to show up without using the teleport. And that's just going to put them on 12 point. And this is just a chain of events, a domino effect of what happened with HLE trying to stop that Baron, failing, unfortunately, miserably, and then doubling down on it. Zeka going for the TP play, pushed away, and everything is coming up T1 now.
One of the problems as well is because Faker's package was taken so much before the Dragon was, they're going to have package and be able to, you know, we often see the Corki like pick it up last second and come over. T1 will have ample time to set up for this soul fight. Now, HLE Esports are trying to attack Keria, but you're going to take so long to kill him.
Yeah, this is taking forever, and there is no damage here in this fight. Remember, this is a lot of tanks. Of course, there is Peanut there. They will be able to get through the Sejuani, but they have to invest everything to take him down, and they'll lose an inhibitor for it. They may even lose the base, as the backs have now been started for HLE Esports. Dawning Shadow just to stop them. And they'll take the first Nexus turret. There is so much damage under these turrets as well with the Corki in the center. I don't think that was worth it, HLE.
Absolutely not. And I think trying to set up an engage would have been a little bit more successful. Just sit under the turret, trying to look for a Zeka flank, shut them down. You end up losing inhibitor for this. You get the kill on the support Sejuani, and that's all you get. Great ultimate there from Guma to guarantee they get that one Nexus turret. And this game is just off the rails here for HLE. Their agency is so low, and when they try to make an impactful play onto the Sejuani, Keria just looks up and says, all according to plan. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be that side lane threat. He still has that teleport, mind you.
Now, I don't think I really want to say who is favored in this game, because I feel like as soon as we talk about who is clearly favored in a game, then it's just the other team that wins.
I'll do it. It's definitely T1 favored right now.
Oh god,
really?
okay,
backfire.
Wow, that is
no way.
Blatant HLE Esports bias there. But I think you might be right that T1 do have a clear advantage.
Yeah,
because it is 9,000 gold the lead.
It's pretty big.
We ran into that problem in the last game as well.
I think it's easy to focus on the carries as well, but Zeus has 4 full items. I think he's hit immortality at this point.
Yeah.
And we normally talk about the Rek'Sai being hard to kill. Rek'Sai doesn't scale as well as the Zac.
And I think that there's just not a whole lot of agency here for Hanwha Life. And like I mentioned before, Owner's not going to overextend and try to kill Viper. He doesn't have to. The gold difference is basically the same as what T1 had last time, but the map control that they have is way more oppressive. Threatening that bottom inhibitor, taking it down. Is Peanut now in trouble?
Yeah, Perry just going to interrupt him here as Peanut tries to take the Hex Gate, but it is not going to work out. He gets himself a big old shield and is just going to be taken out. There is now Owner turning into the Vine, looking to try and get a little bit of a re-engage. I think Peanut trying to buy some time makes a bit of sense, but feels like a little bit like he was throwing away his life there.
Yeah, I mean, he could have maybe tried to set up for a sandwich, but there's just no control. He's identified early.
Oh god. Oh, Delay taking so much damage here is now T1 pushing down this mid inhibitor turret. That is going to evaporate. And this feels a whole lot cleaner. There is the engage. The elastic quick shot, fantastic by Zayas to make sure they're all CC. The Emperor's Divide tries to get something done, but it's from the grave for Zeka. And once again, just engaging with reckless abandon is Zach. Gorgeous this game. And T1, they will answer back and make this best of 5 a best of 3 and win one against Hanwha Life for the first time this playoff.
And I feel like, game 1, we saw Hanwha Life composition kind of